Josh, here's the thing. Let's say you owe $400,000 in back taxes. You haven't filed in 10 years as a small business owner here in America. And you just think to yourself, well, you know what? I looked at this TV commercial that told me I could settle my debt for basically nothing, pennies on the dollar. And yeah, maybe I will get rejected to do an offer in compromise, right? Maybe I would get rejected, but they say to themselves, what's the downside? Like what's the downside of this guy filing for an offer in compromise? If he just gets rejected, then he can just go to a payment plan. And at the very least, he went on offense, right?
So let's talk about it like this. An offer in compromise is the most complicated IRS program out there. It requires the most paperwork and the most financial disclosure. Why? Because it's the fruit at the top of the tree. It's the best one. It's the one everybody wants. And if everybody qualified, yeah, that'd be great. But you're going to be out whatever you pay that company to apply. You're going to wait 10 to 14 months to find out that you got denied. Meanwhile, penalties and interest at 13% annually are accruing. So the best situation is, and by the time I'm done with the first conversation with somebody on a consult, I'm going to know the best exit strategy possible from their IRS problem. That's what I do. Other companies deal with it differently, but that person who hasn't filed for 10 years, first things first, isn't going to qualify if they haven't filed the last 6 years. So the first thing is find somebody, phase one, get your taxes filed. Once that's in, and like I said, that's going to take 6 months because you've got 20, 21, 22 that have to be paper filed. It takes 6 months to get into the IRS system. Then 23, 24, 25 e-filed that opens on the 26th of this month, but still, you got to get those other three. So let's say somebody came in today, we got 6 years of returns done, and we're going to be somewhere at the end of June before they can even qualify for an offer on compromise, a payment plan, or currently not collectible. Meanwhile, the same person goes to a big name firm who promises them pennies on the dollar, has to wait the same amount of time, and has already thrown $20,000 at a program that they're not going to get qualified for, or they don't know if they're qualified for, but somebody sold them. I don't talk like pretty talk like a salesman would to make people feel emotionally comforted by what I'm going to provide for them, but I talk plain. If it's a situation where you qualify for a payment plan and a partial pay, I mean, realistically, who could afford to pay $400,000 over their entire lives? So yeah, that's possibly currently not collectible depending on their finances, possibly a partial pay installment agreement, maybe. But if you're in a small business owner, chances are you're going to have some equity. Chances are you're going to have some cash laying around. So yeah, it might be a partial pay payment. It might be a full pay. Who knows? I talked to a guy down at where you are. He lived on the Intercoastal at 16th floor. He owed $2.3 million. He's not going to pay that in his entire life, no matter how much he makes. But his financials are going to dictate whether he qualifies for an offer on compromise or a payment plan.
Yeah. Oh man, this. Yeah. So let's say the guy does know. Let's say so. Okay. So you have your client. He owed 2.3 million in back taxes, right? Let's say he's only making $200,000 a year. I mean, and then you get him in a payment plan. I mean, does he just run the clock out? Does he just
and you gotta keep plugging away at making the payments? So one thing the IRS hasn't done for a while, but they just in the last 12 months had a 35% reduction in staffing. So I talked to someone at the Taxpayer Advocate Service yesterday. They used to have a team of 30 people. Now they have a team of 20 people.
So is this a good point? Is this actually a good point if you owe back taxes to make a deal?
Right now is the best time, but
shout out Trump for firing these people. I hope he fires more. You know what I mean? I hope he fires all.
With this person. This person has been at the IRS for 9 years, and she would like more people to be hired. But what we need is qualified hires. That means competent individual in accounting and knowledge and education. And
you see, go ahead, Josh. No, but good.
I believe the people that were let go, the early retirement people, were talent. And I think what we're left with is people who were recently hired. And I don't know that they have the same talent. The training program at the IRS is at least 3 years for one job. And so when you call the IRS and you talk to automated collection service, that's the phone number on those letters that go out, you're talking to somebody at a GS5 level. GS, government service. That's the lowest level that the IRS hires at. That person doesn't have an ability to think things or be able to do things other than the systematic procedure that they can do things. You need to get things to appeals in order for things to happen. There are certain clients that I work with that have to do a collection due process hearing. That's an appeals thing. That's a higher level of knowledge, higher level of ability. This is a person who sits at the IRS and can, oh, okay, you've got this, and they consider the hazards of litigation rather than putting you through a questionnaire that they're reading on their computer screen.
I mean, to me, it sounds like the bottom line, to me, what it sounds like is that right now, I think the IRS is losing about $700 billion of revenue. So if you're a business owner and you're looking at the IRS as understaffed after Trump fired so many of the talented people and now has a bunch of rookies who don't know what they're doing, maybe, it looks like the best chance you got as a business owner who has back taxes to settle your tax issues right now. I mean, it just seems like this is like the best point, literally do it. And Trump's only in office for, a little bit longer. So you think that's accurate? Just generally speaking, is yeah.
Yes, yes. That's exactly what I'm saying because I don't want to get political, but
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I just got to Google needs. I got to take this.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, it's been good.
No, this is the guy that always tells me I don't have to take his calls. So it's like, so what I'm saying is if you like Pepsi or Coke, you like McDonald's or Burger King, there's a two-party system that we have here in America. And there's one party that tends to be more domestic and one that tends to be more international. You take your pick. The one that has more domestic focus will probably grow the IRS. They've done it before. And if you've got more people looking at records, chances are that tax gap has been there for decades. And it's not getting that much larger. It's just that, let's face it, people are figuring I can get away with taxes. There are so many more things to tax. That's why December 22nd, 2017, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act passed and the BBB passed July 4th, 2025. There's lots of things that are changing in terms of the way economic activity can take place. So the IRS and the US government wants to be in the best position to capture that because you're right. They've got about a 51% chance of you filing your taxes or not. Not everybody in America files their taxes, okay?
So is there just a big problem now with like all these people with back taxes, small business owners just not paying? And does like the IRS is short staffed? I mean, it's just like, are people just getting away with it? Is that like, is their enforcement actually not that good because they're short staffed?
There's enforcement. It's just a matter of time and then reporting. So I've had clients who their business gets a 1099, but they don't. And they hadn't filed for 10 years and they've changed business names. So tracking that person down is a little more work for the IRS, but I think they catch up with a lot of people that typically not at the best case scenario time to, oh, I owe the IRS how much? Yeah, so it's best to get current with your taxes and get into a payment plan or, qualify for one of those programs. Like this former revenue officer that I work with says more people than not qualify for one of these alternatives than they'd ever believe. And just getting things across the finish line is what it's going to take. Just doing the paperwork and making sure that you qualify and getting it behind you so you can move on with your life rather than always looking over your shoulder if the IRS is going to catch you.
Everybody, I definitely respect Josh. I wouldn't say that, I don't promote stuff like that. It's rare. But Josh is someone I've trusted myself. I do trust myself, my own tax situation, because I was let's just say a bad boy. I was a little naughty myself. And he's helping me, he's fantastic. So I have a question here. Someone asked this question. They said, I'll read it here. I'm going to owe some back taxes. Can I negotiate? I only answer some of this stuff. I'm going to owe some back taxes. Can I negotiate with the IRS on taxes and penalties that I owe them?
So penalties are one thing. Penalties, the types of penalties that you can abate are another. There's always the FTA, first time abatement. If you're current for the last 3 years of your returns, you're all filed, you just owed money. There's a possibility that you qualify for first time abatement. But if you owe back taxes from a previous year or several previous years, The failure to file and failure to pay penalties, you cannot abate. They're not included in that abatement of penalties and interest. And then negotiating with the IRS. It isn't like I just give the IRS a call and it's like, yeah, I'm just, I just kind of want to negotiate with you. I'll throw you a number and then you throw me a number and we'll go back and forth. It doesn't work that way. The way it works is you find out if you qualify for one of the alternatives to collections, that payment plan, the currently not collectible, offer and compromise, and then you put your finances together. So I get a general idea in a first conversation, and then I pull financials. Once we put financials together and we're able to support them, that's what we present to the IRS. We don't negotiate. Like I said, they have a formula that they put all the numbers through. This isn't like, let's just make a deal or negotiating and trying to convince them of something. Your numbers will convince them. Like I said, they're looking at a screen and they've got certain criteria that they have to ask. So you don't negotiate, you present financials.
So one last question here. So aside from doing back taxes and stuff like that, do you actually just do like small business tax filings too?
Yep. I do is individuals, families, small businesses. I help people with IRS audits, collections, and appeals. I go to U.S. tax court. So I put in 12 to 14-hour days every day of the year, Monday through Friday. I'm trying to cut it back. So we'll see what tax season looks like this year. But yeah, I don't get out of here. Well, I sent you a text last night, 7:45. I was getting out of here,
Yeah, man. Yeah. You like to go out on those lakes in Minnesota, man. I want to come out there. I love the Great Lakes region. I want to come out there, man. Hang out with you.
You bet. It'd be great. You're welcome to come. It's a great place to visit.
So, Josh, where could everyone find you if they're interested to to solve their back tax issue? Where could everyone find you if they have questions, if maybe it's a good
Yeah.
match, maybe it's not.
If you're just looking at kicking the tire and looking and see what I got going on, IRS Insider Relief on YouTube. You go on Google, besttaxpro.com. There's a place to find a 15-minute consultation. I can take a look at your situation. We can have a conversation. Just grab a spot on my calendar. Or if you just want to look and see what I've got, check me out on YouTube, IRS Insider Relief.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Josh. I know it's a busy tax season. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please, if you enjoyed this stream or you know anyone who's in a back tax issue, please share this with them so we could, maybe this is something we could help them. Maybe they find this information useful, so the government doesn't take any more money than they need to or require to. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.